Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the middle of the week. Welcome to the midweek check-in, as it were, as it will be. Yes. All right. Let me see. Is everybody here? Everybody's checked in. Let me get my screens situated here. Good morning, Michael. Good morning to you, Bob. Good morning, Perry. Good evening, Sandy. All right. Welcome. Welcome. Love it. Okay. Yeah, we're here. Let's get started. Let's get into it. Disclaimers, as always, education, illustrative purposes only. We are not advisors. We are not brokers. Be careful out there. And today's agenda, what are we going to do? We are going to look at today's opening analysis. We are going to revisit our market posture to see how things look after the first couple of days, what we see, what's going on. We are going to talk about our mindset for any open trades. Look through the list to see if there's anything, and there are setups. We even were looking at fleshing out trades yesterday on a couple of them, and explore some of those setups. We highlighted a few, and lastly, how does the progress look in the uh, trading plan work from this week? That's the agenda. IBKR. Oh, good. Risk Navigator from Interactive Brokers. Quite good. Love it. Glad. At this point, they all should be, is my contention, right? Like 15 years ago, 18 years ago, Thinkorswim was like, oh, we've never seen anything like this. 18 years ago, right? Like they sort of set the standard of what you should provide for options traders and try to replicate. So good. I'm glad they have that. It's good. And you can take what we do and correlate it. And anyone else who uses a different broker should do the same thing. Like if you use Tastyworks, those are the guys who originally built Thinkorswim. They built it differently. You want to make sure, right? Whatever platform you're on, there should be analytical tools available to you. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. The futures are flat. S&P is flat, 0.01. After yesterday's strong move, despite questionable inflation data, the economy strong enough. Wall Street rushes to keep up with a strong economy. There it is. I mean, we have um, uh, broad strength. It's across the board. We've seen it. Okay. Dow Jones futures up 0.11, NASDAQ down 0.2, Russell down 0.06. Oh, look at this. Oil up 2% today. We don't like to see that. We don't like to see the energy prices increase. We don't like to see material prices increase. Let's see what gold looks like. Gold and silver are pretty flat. What's in the news? Um, U.S. futures steady with investors on data watch. We don't have much though, right? Let's look at the calendar. Nothing Monday. Tuesday, how did we come back? We were expecting 0.4, we got 0.4. We were expecting 0.3 and we got 0.4. I think year over year came back at 3.2. Did it not? I don't know why it's not updating those numbers, but I think it was 3.2. Anyways, what else do we have? Some retail sales. Oh, nothing. Sorry. I'm like, that's Wednesday. Wednesday, we have nothing scheduled. Tomorrow, retail sales, PPI. So today, just kind of like, do we continue yesterday's momentum? Does it pause, waiting to see what the Thursday information looks like? I'm leaning more towards that, possibly a pause day. We'll see. And let's go back. We are now 1 week away from the Fed. We're now at a 99% certainty. We feel like we've been there for quite some time. 7 days and a few hours before the next meeting. And yeah, let's go to May. Ooh, so May is shut the door, right? It was like 3-1 on Sunday. Now it's almost 10-1. So the May expectations have really just disappeared. And now let's see if June starts to even. Okay, so June's holding up at about 1.5-1. He got to 2-1 a little bit, but June is still where there's more probability than not. But I think that it may end up in July. Oil increases partial cause of the inflation. Even, yeah, 100% agree. And not just oil, but now we've seen that, surge in basic materials. And so, yeah, we're like, oh, that's gonna have an impact on uh and where we would see that is PPI. Not that I'm saying we'd see it tomorrow. I'm saying PPI, which happens to come out tomorrow, right? That's where we're gonna see things like increased energy prices for production, manufacturing, and shipping, and increased material prices for production. So yeah, that's definitely hard. And we see it in sales. Sales are still up. Give us three months of negative sales and you would see prices come down, but people keep buying. And they're able to keep buying because they're employed, or at least partially employed enough, whatever. So yeah. All right. All right. What else? Anything else in the news? Buying Bitcoin is like buying a New York City apartment. I don't get the analogy. Anyone ever bought a New York City apartment before? What's that feel like, I guess? Huh? Retirement optimism. Americans are increasing their contributions. Okay, so that right there, that's a nice little piece for us because remember what we say. You know, institutions. Americans increasing their contributions means more money coming into the market every week, right? Every time they're putting New York apartment prices going up, that's there you go. So right now that retirement optimism is actually for us translating into market optimism. They're giving institutions more money in their coffers every week to put into the market. Great. Great. Good to know. And you can see it's another reiteration there. They're more hopeful about retirement. And the more they put in, the better. So, anyways, that's about it. Jerome Powell just revealed the hidden reason why inflation is staying high. The economy is increasingly uninsurable. Ah, okay. I gotta tell you, I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old on my insurance. And holy shit. Um, is yes, he's not wrong. I am in agreement. That's interesting. So insurance, yeah. Not so sure what to do with that, but I want to look into it somehow. As drivers, very expensive, and going to college also very expensive. Those little bastards. Uh, okay. Um, where are we? 1 minute away from the market. We've gone through. What do we have the rest of this week? Friday, not much. Empire State Manufacturing, production, utilization. Um, next week is minimal economic information, but we do have the Fed. Nvidia keeps going. Nvidia is magnificent, magnificent. Okay, well, let's pop a chart and get a sense of what we're seeing there. Candles. UMP looking set up and ready to go. And there's the opening bell. Apple, what do we know? I know this. Those buyers didn't do much, right? From this, and it got almost all the way down to this level here. I mean, it's probably the equivalent. It was a little lower at one point, but it did not get very much. It may not be over yet, but that's no V, right? That is a backwards J. And so that is more of a bear flag. If I'm going to think that this is going to try to recover, it's going to need to give me maybe not all the way up to here, but at least let's say there, where it pops all the way back up. Bam, that's the buyers giving it a little extra knock. And then from here, if it pulls back and doesn't drop all the way, that's the absolute only way I would trade a reversal out of a consolidation below the 50. It's got to do that. That whole pattern has to be clear. So we're nowhere near trading Apple, in my opinion. I'm nowhere near trading Apple. Let's keep going here. AIG. Okay, so yeah. AIG flagged and sort of broke out of it. Let me get this back here. So, you might have taken a trade on this. It's very strong right now. What does AIG do? Insure. Yes, sir. AMD is close, right? AMD is close. We talked about AMD. We said, we might start thinking about it now, but if it were to drop down, which is what it's doing, then that's going to change our thought where we say, okay, now as it meanders down here, if it continues down, we might realign where this point is. What does that point represent? Where we would be triggered into an entry when it turns back around, right? So as it's dropping, what we're thinking about is what would the buyers have to do to convince you that it's going back up? What would the buyers have to do to turn this stochastics back up? Yeah, I know this. AMD definitely very, very strong. Looks good. Looks set up. Amazon. Amazon is, I would also say, set up and possibly trying to fire. It's not really a flag as much as just sort of this consolidation. There's the bottom. You can see here's our stochastics, and it's trying to make a turn. So it just may be, do you need a little bit more bullishness now? Do you like the stochastics enough that it's a go? What would this trade look like? Well, it would probably look like entry here, stop loss underneath. There's your risk level. And then you're asking, do I have at least 2 times that to the upside? So let's see, that's 177 down to so maybe 6 points. So I would need 12. 12 puts me at 188. That's up here. Ooh. I don't know. I don't know. Amazon's iffy, not because I don't think it's going up, because I'm not sure that it's giving me 2-1, and I think that there are other places where I have 3-1. So sometimes it's not. That's why we have to run the numbers, right? Because if we're only looking for a few trades, how do we decide? Best reward to risk. Okay. AXP, yeah, just kind of grinding along. The financials are certainly still looking bullish. The entries have been a little choppier, and you can see that's the same thing that we're kind of seeing now. But it's, I mean, it looks bullish. Boeing still dropping. BLDR trying to stabilize, possibly looking for a bullish turn. BX still down. City possibly stabilizing, possibly moving into its. So the financials are, as a group, you can see trying to do something here. It looks like it's turning into the selling cycle, but it's not doing much. So I still think there's bullish opportunity to be found in the financial area. Caterpillar, industrials, same kind of a thing where it's just like it had a little bit of choppiness, but your stochastics has come down. That is indicative of where the selling cycle would be. They didn't do much, and now it's looking like it's trying to turn up out of this. I think that's viable. Caterpillar's very strong trend. Industrials are strong. So yeah, I think that we're going to find signals in multiple areas right now that are viable. Capital One, yeah, I mean it's moving higher. In fact, you probably got a hike in Ashley yesterday. In fact, you did. And then today's another one. So, I mean, continuation trade, you could enter, put your stop below yesterday's low, knowing you're going to move it. So yesterday's low, 137.4 to say 137.25. So it's about 3.5 points. So you need 7 for a continuation to look good here. This needs to get up to 147.50. Yeah, actually, I'd say that's a move like it got here, or here, or here. So 147.50, 148. Yeah, I'd say you can get 2-1 out of that. It's not 3-1, but it is definitely a 2-1. But remember, continuation trades are rarely going to get you a 3-1. What's the advantage then? The ability to know your stop is going to move immediately. Wherever you set your stop for today, you're going to move it tomorrow to today's low because you already have Heiken Ashis in place. You're already in a place where you could be moving your stops on a daily basis. So you're not waiting to see if you move into a momentum stage like you are with a bounce trade. A continuation trade means the momentum's already there. So you're acknowledging it has less potential to the upside because it's already started. But you are saying, I have a better ability to manage my risk. So that's, if you've ever been I'm not really clear on the distinction between your bounce trade and your continuation trade. That's probably the way I would describe it. So yeah, I'd say Capital One, if you don't mind this sideways, it's looks like it's trying to take off again. Oil. Oh, it's breaking out. Yeah, we were kind of hoping it would fizzle, and it's kind of breaking out. No volume, but still, we don't love it. Costco, still trying to figure it out. And like I said, I was not inclined to just oh, it hit the 50, let's buy it. I need to see it shake it all out now and see how it settles. Fine. Okay, so Steven said he took a look at the 22-day sector rotation chart. Fin was one that's still strong, but tech and communication services are towards the bottom. Ah, okay. Yeah, they're a little bit more in the which is why the 22 days our last thing, right? We put way less. I mean, it gives us an idea of what's going on, but CrowdStrike. I think CrowdStrike looks actually quite reasonable. If you remember, I said that I feel like I could just sort of draw a line like this, and I cut out these days. But overall, this kind of feels right. And you'll notice that's right at the bottom of the trend if it can move up off of it. But it's just real choppy right now. So it's harder to trade with confidence in the chop. CSX is still setting up, still viable. I would want to see it stay maybe above this level here. And this is going to keep coming up. So anything above 37, I'm fine with that. We'll see if we get a signal to come. DAL, nothing there. DHI, nothing there. There's the Dow, up a titch. Ford. Oh, look at Ford. If it looks like this, I mean, this is it. This is what we were looking for, right? Well, we're only 11 minutes in. I want to make sure that I see it as it comes out of the daily range, but that looks like it's hitting the 50 and bouncing. There you go. Ford is starred. Fastenal. It's close, right? I mean, it's still coming down. I would put it on the list and keep it on the list. It could be any day. GBTC. GBTC looks a little overextended, but it looked a little overextended here and here and here. And then so it's just kind of on one of those, it's on one of those runs. Oh, it's exciting. It's a bit of the Wild West. Bitcoin. All right. GE setting up. If you like it, I'm not going to trade it because I'm a GE jinx. But as this right now, it's kind of a pennant more than a flag, but it's the same kind of a consolidation pattern. Gold. Gold had a big run. Now it's settling a little bit. Okay, Google. So Apple was a bit disappointing. We actually said Google, even right here, might have been enough for us to think V. But now all of a sudden we're getting this V. And that's a great V right there. Not only that, but it's busted back above the 50. Even if it's just barely, it did it. It's above the 50. That's enough. So at this point for me, the next time Google pulls back, even if it goes back below the 50, right, you might look across and be like, where's this thing? It might come down. That is a magnificent place for us to find a trade. That is where we're like, oh yeah, that looks great. We would trade that for sure. Um, it's kind of like that spot right there. And when we're done, we would look for that spot, and then we would look for that spot, and maybe even look for that spot. And that's what we're hoping to find is these things like Google or Apple come out. I mean, you see what we're seeing in the news. The economy is strong, people are employed, they're saving more, there's more money coming into the market. Oh my gosh. It's like darker in the morning now, right? And so I hadn't really looked outside, and now as it lightens up, I look outside and it's a damn snowstorm. The hell? It's blowing sideways. The streets are covered. My goodness. All right, sorry, that was distracting. Next week, yeah. Yeah, I would say. I mean, the pullback, who knows how long? It's Wednesday. Maybe next week, but we certainly love to see it. Home Depot gave a signal yesterday. Today is giving you the first Heiken Ashi, I believe. Where I could put my stop closer now. If you didn't trade yesterday, are you too late? No. No, we could get in. We could put our stop instead of putting our stop down here. I might put my stop, somewhere in this range, but like around the low of this body below yesterday. That's $5 of risk. Can I get 10? That puts me at 386. That's the old high. Yeah, I think this is a potential 3-to-1 trade right here, Home Depot. Looks fantastic. Fantastic. If the alerts were going, there's a good chance that something we've seen so far would be on the list. This is what we're looking for. Home Depot. All right. Now, if anyone's traded any of these or is thinking of trading, let me know. I want to know about it. That looks pretty strong. IBM kind of choppy, like it just like popped yesterday. Stochastics didn't give much signal. Still watching. Choppy, still watching. Oh, look at this. The Russell already looking to try to break out of this little flag. The Russell's looking strong still. Small caps remain favorable. JP Morgan up. There's that strength, right? That strength in the financials. Meta on the list. Put a star on it. Setting up. Meta held its ground as it was waiting for Google. Google's now trying to participate. Love it. Love it. Google just kind of popped, or not Google, Microsoft kind of popped yesterday. It's kind of stalling today. I don't know. I didn't do anything with it. Still feels a bit sideways here, but love seeing the strength. Netflix still looks viable. Still looks viable. Trying. Nvidia. Okay. I would say it's still chopping around in its consolidation. What else? Picard. Sorry, I missed it. Picard, still viable, still on the list. QQQ, I mean, still just a strong. Strong trend going on. Ross Stores. Yeah. Did we looked at this yesterday and built a trade. Um, but I think we said the trigger would be if it gets above, and it hasn't gotten above. So the stochastics is turning. So this is one where it may not be triggered, but would be considered anticipatory. Are you willing to anticipate? Because if so, actually get even a better price now than we looked at yesterday. We actually said, oh, I could set my price. Let's see where this is at. 340. We said, oh, what if I could get it for 325? I'm gonna do that. $325. 210 for which strike? Was it way down at 210 for this one? $146. Was that a different stock? We did two, right? What was the first stock we did? Ross. Ross. And then went to UNP. Got it. UNP was the cheaper one. Okay. 325. Yeah. Oh, I'm on UNP. That's what I'm missing. Sorry. Sorry. Ah, I'm distracted by the snow. 185. Oh, 210. See, this is 185. That's right. So this is much less than 210. Yeah. So there you go. That would at 210, what was our risk? 500? 400? About 400. And now it's gone down. Yeah, you can see why. There you go. There you go. Ross still looks viable. SMCI kind of choppy. The SPY holding up. TPR. There you go. Taking off. TSM setting up. UMP setting up. The VIX is down, but ooh, so this is where the VIX is a little, for us, a little dicey. For me, a little dicey. I said it popped a little more than I was expecting here. So this was a little bigger than expected. We got back up to this area. Now, as it's turned down, the problem is if we stall here and then turn again, then we all know that's a higher low, and that's concerning to us. That's where we get like concerned of escalation. So as bullish as we are, we keep our eye out for that as well. So keep diligence that way. Bob, I'll try to let me get through these. Look at Waste Management. It just sort of grounded out. It was grinding, got a signal, and it just kind of kept on going. Very nice. Walmart, bullish but choppy. It's hard to find those entries sometimes on stocks like that. XBI looks like it's trying to turn and give a new signal for a higher low. Oh, these down materials. They just won't stop going up. Communication services, little flat, but trying to break forward again. There's energy also. Yeah. We don't love that. Financials is staying okay, but in industrials as well, technology. Yeah, we've got some issues with the pricing, but we're still bullish. There's utilities doing the same thing. Look at Ford in the lower time frame. I mean, I think we're past the opening range here. You can see it was really in that first little bit. So you might just watch this and see, like, does this pull back? How far does it pull? As long as it stays, you'll notice you see these old highs right here are about halfway up this candle. Anything at or above this. So if this thing pulls back and holds and then turns again to indicate like trending back up, I think you are door open. Home Depot. Now let's get back down here. So Home Depot really had a signal back here. This is not a bounce signal anymore. If you got in here, you put your stop underneath this, but now you're a day late. This thing's up 3% or $3 today. So now what? So now we go down to the Heiken Ashi. Like I said, I would probably go below this low, but not much. So I'd probably say, somewhere around like 371 and let's say 371.25. That would be my risk if I'm wrong, where I'm saying, hey, if this thing all of a sudden turns around, breaks there and breaks here, I'm wrong. So let's go Home Depot. And remember what we're looking for here. Price numbers. What if I'm wrong? 371.25. That's about $6.50 of risk. What if I'm right? What can this thing do? Well, let's just kind of go with the repeat of the last one. So I'm going to go from here to here. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move it. And I'm going to say, where does that put me? That puts me at 398.92. So we'll call it 398. Okay. How long is this going to take? Not long. 322. There's a place right in through here that I could maybe take a little profit somewhere around 385 to 390 if it gets there if I have the ability to. Hopefully you have at least 3 contracts to do that. April looks good. You can see it's $370 stock. So even when you go to the first out of the money, still $8. So that's going to reduce your ability. You could go down here. This maybe, if we go out of the money to the 390, that's 220 of risk for one contract. 220 of risk for one contract. I mean, theoretically, I could go all the way out. I could go all the way out to the 400s. It's out of the money a ways, but we don't plan to stay in this. We don't need it to get in the money so that we can have intrinsic value. We need it to make a move in the next by the 22nd. Now this is assuming the 19th. This is assuming a full week to be wrong. We'll go a full week from now. Full week to be wrong. I'm losing. I'm gonna stay with this one to show how we can go further out of the money than you think you might normally, right? So in fact, you'll notice that this strike price of 400 is above our target price. It will never be in the money, this option. And yet it still could risk 120 to make 550. Doesn't have to be in the money because we don't plan to be in it beyond March 22nd, March 25th at most, but we have no interest in staying in that trade until the 3rd Friday of April. If I wanted to keep my risk below $400 is what we kind of were looking at, I would be able to do 3 of these. That puts me under 400. I'm risking about 375. My reward is quite nice. 420 actually. There's 420. So you can see it fluctuates around a little bit. But that's in the vein I'm gonna try to get a better price. I'm gonna see if I can't get it for 190. And I'm gonna place it. Let it sit. Actually, it got filled at 174. So there it is. That's now what? Now I can come in here and I can create a closing order. This is going to be a fun one. Okay. So I'm going to do an OCO. And I'm going to create a duplicate order, but I'm only going to have one. So 3 of these, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to watch the video on this one. 3 of these, I'm going to sell at market, good till canceled, if we go at or below 371.25. Right? At or below 371.25, save. That's my stop. If HD goes to 371.25, it's going to trigger that. It's going to sell all 3 contracts. This other one is going to be the first place that I'm trying to take a little profit. And we said maybe somewhere between 385 and 390. So I'm going to say 387.50. So I'm going to put a market order, good till canceled. And this time I'm going to go at or above, and I'm going to say 387.50. And then I'm going to confirm and send it. You can see what's happening here. I'm going to sell 3 of them, all of them, if we drop below 371.25. That's my stop. Now, remember, if I ever come in and HD is going to open below 371.25, I'm going to cancel the stop so it doesn't trigger me on the open. Then I'm going to have 1 take profit. Now, if it hits this take profit and sells 1, it's going to cancel this other order. It's going to disappear, which is okay because I don't want to have a stop on 3 contracts if I don't own 3 contracts, because at that point I would only have 2. Then at that point, I would come in and set a target for the remaining 2 and then set an adjustable stop for the remaining 2. And then I could manage that trade forward. So that's just kind of illustrating a way that you can set up automation on your management using OCO and conditional or contingent orders. I'm going to just go ahead and put that on. And you'll see now if I go look at this and my working orders, I have waiting for conditions and waiting for triggers going on here. So makes sense? Let me know. All right. Lastly, before we bounce out of here, let's take a quick peek at Sandy's impressed, and that means I achieved my goal this morning when I started. I'm like, I wonder if I can impress Sandy today. I'm going to give it a shot. So now everybody is happy. Where am I? Market onboarding docs. Let's get the trading plan up. And yes, I have no doubt, Sandy, that you have the ability to replicate everything we did there on IB. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with the platform. We are working on section 3 rules. Some of the stuff we just did, right? What markets are you buying or selling? That's your watch list, time frames that you might use to make decisions, position sizing. What was the entry? Where's your stop? Where's your exits? How are you going to manage the trade? How are you going to decide how many contracts? Anything that has to do with rules of execution, setup, trigger, stop, target, time frame, all of that is in the rules. So there you go. Nice job, Bob. Have a set of rules I got from the Wizards. Amazing, and right is right. There's a great there's some great rules, examples of rules. There's a PDF called the Original Turtle Trader Rules. Great read if you ever were looking for something. Great read. It's the Turtle Traders is like the kind of backstory for the movie Trading Places. One of my favorite Christmas market-based movie with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. Classic. All right. Put your time in on this. Tomorrow night we will have options. We did if you like what we just did, we did a couple of those last night in the options class. That's basic option strategy. What do you need? Stop, target, time frame, build the trade, make sure you know what your rewarded to risk is, make sure you've controlled your risk with your position sizing, and now you have a nice trade to work with. It's good to see everybody. There's really, pay attention because we have trading signals going on. We have a potential hedge developing. So let's be aware. Let's be active. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow night. As always, happy trading.